Hope you enjoy this interview. It's me speaking to Brian Tracy, who needs no introduction. He's written 93 books, and he is an absolute guru in the personal development space. Hope you get a ton out of this.
Hey, that's
Fantastic.
great.
So we don't need to change anything. I'll answer your question about. So I am a 24-year practicing chiropractor,
Yes, yes.
but I do that very part time because back in 2001, in my first year as a chiropractor in Toronto, I realized that most health problems actually come from the way we think,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you'd appreciate. The psychology of
Yes,
selling, and all these books that you talk about, and a lot to do with mindset, procrastination, and stuff. And that's what I discovered as well, is that the way we think impacts our health. So that's one of the ways that which we're connected in terms of the way we look at life and the way we see the power of the mind.
yes. And I've been writing and teaching and preaching on exactly that subject for 40 years. I say you become what you think about most of the time. So
Exactly.
what do you think about most of the time? And if you change your thinking, you change your internal barometer and begin thinking in a more positive and constructive way, you start to get results almost immediately. It's wonderful.
You know what? On that note, I like to flip it, because what you just said is you are what you think about most of the time. And yet, people oftentimes want to achieve things that they think about rarely.
Right, right. Well, my favorite word in our field is clarity, being absolutely clear about who you are and what you want. And that takes a lot of time and effort and thought and writing and reading and so on. It's not as easy as to say that, but it's amazing when you get into the habit of thinking about what you want and how to get it. Most of the time, your whole life changes and very quickly.
100%. So when you talk about like people knowing what they want, do you think that the problem is people don't know what they want, or that people want too many things and they kind of get distracted by all that?
I think they get distracted. I think that the biggest problems that people have are what I call negative emotions. That's the number one reason why people go to a chiropractor, is they have
Mm-hmm.
negative emotions which manifest themselves in the body, um, and they feel bad about themselves. They make excuses. So I think that a positive mental attitude, which I studied the subject for about 4,000 hours, and basically it comes down to that if you stop thinking and talking about who is to blame in your life, then you start to think in a positive and constructive way. And just absolutely believe that if you can write it down and have it. Let me ask you a question. Are you married?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Married over here. My wife is on, sorry, this side. And I have two boys as well. I don't know if you can see them back there.
that's wonderful. And then that makes all the difference. I began studying this many years ago, and I came up with the idea that having a great relationship is one of the most important things in life. And so what you do is you take a piece of paper and you write down exactly what the perfect relationship would be. And it is really quite astonishing, because if you write it down 10, 15, 20, 30 things you want in a perfect person, the person just boom, they just appear. And
Mm-hmm.
my wife and I did this exercise jointly. We've been together for 47 years.
Wow.
And yeah, so it
That's a
does
long
happen.
time.
Yes, and you obviously have a very powerful mind. And when I teach this to my audiences all over the world, now 84 countries, one of the things that I say is basically that the starting point of success is to accept responsibility for yourself and for your thoughts, and be crystal clear that everything that happens in your life goes back to your own thinking. And if you're not happy with something in your life, then stop thinking about it that way. Replace it. There's all kinds of things you know about in psychology,
Yeah.
but just start to deliberately think about what it is that you want, and refuse to think and talk about things that you don't want. And it's quite a miracle how fast it changes.
You know, when you asked about my wife and this whole idea of knowing what you want, when we had our, prior to having our first child, we actually wrote down how we wanted the pregnancy to go.
Yes.
You know, like we wanted, I said to my wife, I'd love it if Eddie was born on a Thursday, because Thursday's a half day in the clinic. And so that way I could, and Friday we're off here in the Emirates. That's the way the holidays used to be, you know, Friday off. And so I'd have, you know, 2 days, a day and a half of, you know, being home with our new baby. And
Yes.
because I had a busy clinic at the time. And then we wrote down, we don't want to, you know, we want to have a natural birth, no medication, no epidural, you know, and we want to go. The only thing we disagreed on was when we would go home. I wanted to go home the same evening. My wife said no, she wanted to stay in the hospital one night. And it was so amazing when my medical doctor's sister called me, said, hey, why don't you come up for the weekend on, you know, this weekend? And I said, no, that's the weekend we're planning on having our son. She's like, are you having a C-section? I said, no, we're having a natural birth. She's like, well, how do you know he'd be born then? I said, because we made a decision.
Yes.
We put our minds together. And he was
Oh, that's
born on that day. He was born
wonderful.
on that day. And he was natural and everything, and no medication. And then my brother and his friends met us down at a hotel. They invited me for a drink. And so I went
Yes.
down to the hotel. And when I went back to the hospital, they wouldn't let me back in. They said visiting hours is over. So just to get back in, I made it up and I said, well, I'm actually here to pick up my wife because we're going home.
Mm.
And so he walked me, he escorted me to the room, and I said, hey, Russia, that's my wife's name, like the country Russia. I said, Russia, are you ready to go? She said, yeah. I said, you are? And she said, yes, because they're not letting my mom stay with me. I don't want to stay in the hospital on my own. So we went home that night. So everything we wrote down came true. So you're absolutely right. I can see you're taking your vitamins there.
Yes. Go with me. But we're very blessed. And
100%.
you're very blessed. And if if you consider yourself to be blessed, then you are. It's
100%.
not difficult.
100%. Yes, I know I am. And I know you are. Do you mind if I pick your brain about a couple of things?
Sure.
I'm really curious, like, how did you, because I just want to let you know how the older generation looks back at the younger generation and says, we're living vicariously through you. Well, I'm living vicariously through you because I've always dreamed since I was a younger, I don't say child, but since I was probably in my teens, right before I had cancer at 21, I had this vision. Yeah, I had cancer when I was 21 years old, and that's when everything changed. It was my gift, really. It was my cure more than my disease. But back then, I thought, you know what? I can't wait to be an old man, like an older man with white hair and be full of wisdom. So you're
Yeah,
now close to what? You're in your 80s now?
I am exactly 80 as of January.
Okay. Happy belated. So January, you turned 80.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Well,
And
I have a wonderful wife and four beautiful children growing up, three married, eight grandchildren. It's
wow,
a great life. One of the things that
wow.
I learned was that the greatest enemy of success and happiness are negative emotions. And so the great job in life is to get rid of negative emotions. And if you do, by accepting responsibility and not blaming anyone else, almost all problems in life come from blaming someone for something that you're unhappy about. What nature abhors is a vacuum. So if you say, well, I'm only going to think and talk about what I want and not what I don't want, what
Mm-hmm.
happens, you create a vacuum, and that vacuum, when you get rid of negative emotions, it fills with positive emotions. And you just become a positive person all the time. Uh, we
Interesting.
say, yeah, look for the good, and you'll always find it.
Do you think you can, though, honestly, you can eliminate negative emotions?
Yes. It is so simple that it's almost should be illegal. But negative emotions come from blaming other people for something that makes you unhappy. And as soon as you stop blaming, as I told you, I spent
Take
several thousand,
responsibility.
as they take responsibility, say, I am responsible. I am responsible. And if I'm not happy with something, it's up to me to change it and
Changed.
refuse to blame anyone for anything. say, well, this is not a good situation, but I can control my attitude. The wonderful line says you can control your attitude under any given set of external circumstances. So from now on, just think in terms of what you want. One of the things which I've been teaching, I learned it decades ago, and I'll just show you. This is going to make you, I say, rich and happy and successful. And it is a spiral notebook. Let me see if I can find mine because I haven't. It's a spiral notebook, which you write down your 10 most important goals of life every morning. Once a day, you get up and take the first 3 to 5 minutes, write down your goals, and write down 10 goals, and just confidently believe that exactly at the right time, in exactly the right way, the goal will appear. It's the most astonishing thing because it always does. And I do seminars and workshops all over the world, and people come to me. Oh, I wrote a book because I fell in love with goal setting some years ago, and this book became the best-selling book on goals in the history of the world. It sold more
Oh,
than a
wow.
million goals.
Yes, I've seen
And
that one.
we're going to rewrite this goal. We're rewriting it now
Rewriting the
because
book.
we think that it will sell another million copies. So I wrote it about 10 years ago. Now we're rewriting it, modern age, what we've learned in the past. And it's quite astonishing, quite astonishing. I mean, one of your goals should be to be financially independent. You should want to be a millionaire. And I remember thinking about that many years ago when I was broke. And I said, how would you become a millionaire? Well, you have to become more productive. My book on time management is the best-selling book in the world on time management, 5 million copies, 55 languages. So how do you become really productive? Well, the answer is you dedicate yourself to becoming more and more productive every day. And excuse me.
It's all good.
And so I basically said this. It's based on the law of compounding. Excuse me.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Take your time.
The law of compounding simply says that if you become one half of 1% more productive
Every
each
day.
week,
Each week.
that will be 2% more productive each month. 2%
Mm-hmm.
productive month is 25% more productive each
Each
year.
year. Yeah.
25% with compounding works out to about 25% a year, and in 2 years and 7 months, you'll be twice as productive and earn twice as much. And you keep
Wow.
doing it. And what happens, and I've shared this with thousands of people, just start every day, rewrite your goals, read something in your field, upgrade your skills, and so on. You become a little bit better each day, each week, each month, and you'll increase your income by 10 times with compounding, 10 times in 10 years. And
Right. Baby steps, right?
baby steps. And it's easy. Well, it's hard when you start, but if you become better and better at it, pretty soon you increase. I
Don't worry. Take your time. I was just going to say that I felt like I was catching up because I know you've written 60 books, right?
as of this week, I'll show
Yeah.
you. Publisher just sent me the latest book. I didn't even know that it was coming out. It's called Master Course for Business Success. That's number 63,
Oh,
number 93. Master Course for Business Success.
93?
93 books. And my goal is 100 within the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. You know, that fits perfectly because I know you're doing like the MBA, right? The MBA program. So that's a perfect book for it, I think.
Yes. Well, I just love to study and get better and better. And that Goethe, the German philosopher, said everything is hard before it's easy.
Exactly.
Everything. So when you start off, it's very difficult. You make all kinds of mistakes and waste time, but you get better and better and easier and easier, and you become more and more productive. You know, there's a law which I teach in one of my programs called the law of three.
Hmm.
And if you want to become wealthy, just practice the law of three. And what this is what I do coaching like you do. But I say what you want to do is you want to um, concentrate, write down everything that you do in the course of a day or a week or a month, and then ask yourself if you could just do one thing on this list, which one activity would have the greatest positive impact on your productivity and your income? And what would it be? And then if you could only do two things, what would be number two? If you
Hmm.
could only do what would be number three? Sounds very simple. Well,
Hmm.
those three activities account for 90% of your value. 90%. What do most people do? Most people, instead of starting with the most valuable tasks, they start with the least valuable task. They
Right. Or
waste
just some random one.
Yeah, they waste most of the time. So if you just those three, the law of three, that alone will make you rich, happy, successful. It'll transform your life. Just what I call the big three. What are your
Right.
big three? You know, some years ago I was working with IBM, and they had gotten into serious trouble, and so I taught them this law, and they instilled it throughout the entire company. And everybody, every manager, every salesperson, and so on, was required to determine their big three. And each manager was required to work out the big three for each person. And then all they did was focus on the three most important tasks and not do anything except those three. And IBM went for several billion dollars in losses to several billion dollars in profits in less than 12 months.
Wow.
And
And so
it's
simple, right?
yeah,
Simple but
it's
powerful.
true story, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, IBM, the president retired, and they put in an engineer, an accountant engineer. They said, we don't need to worry about sales and marketing and things like that. We are IBM. We're a big company. We're a sophisticated company. And so they began to treat the salespeople badly, working on early morning, weekends, so on. But they were doing little things of little value. So they came in with a new president, and he said, from now on, everybody must work on their top three. Every manager must work with every staff member. Everybody works on the top three. And when they announced the change of policy, I always love this. They announced the change of policy. A whole room in New York, they said, from now on, sales eats first.
Sales
Sales
eats,
first. In
sales
other
eats
words,
first.
they're going to be the most important people in the company are going to be the people who are
Productive.
yeah, who are actually developing sales and profitability. And it transformed the company. Sales eats first. And you know, if you were to look for a key to success, sales eats first will do it. If every day all you think about is developing more business, or helping more customers, supporting more customers just every single day, sales eats first. It'll make
I
you
love
rich.
that. I love that. Hey, I have a question. What do you think the biggest thing holding people back is when it comes to sales?
Fear. It's
Fear,
always, yes. And the interesting thing about fear is that it grows on itself. It's like a
right?
fire.
It's like
And what,
compound interest.
so we say you become what you think about.
Think about
So
most. Yeah.
you just say over and over again is I can do anything. I can do anything. I'm not afraid of anything. I can do anything. And just write down what you have to do, pick your most important task and work only on that one task until it's done. Task
Amazing.
completion is one of the most important single factors for success in
Task
life.
completion.
Task completion. You start off, be very clear. If I could only do one thing, what would it be? And you hear me say this, you say, this is so simple. Yes, it is. And that's why I said, why Some people are big successes, and other people with every opportunity uh, are not big successes because they waste too much time doing things of low value or no value. So your job is to become a millionaire within a certain period of time. And I've shared this idea as a very simple formula. Plan every day in advance, continually upgrade your skills, focus on your most important task, start early, work harder, stay later until it becomes a habit. You breathe in,
Hmm.
breathe out, and you complete. One of the most important things in success is task completion. And that means that you start and complete your most important tasks until it becomes automatic. You breathe in, breathe out, start and complete your most important task until it becomes easier and easier. And you get more and more done and, and opportunities. So it's like the Red Sea opens up, all
Right.
the open up for you. Anyway, that's what has helped a lot of friends in my seminars and books and tapes and courses and goals. I think goals is the number one reason for success, and lack of goals is the number one reason for failure. And so your job is to get into a rhythm of you breathe in, breathe out, and complete your most important goals, your most important task. Uh, it,
Right.
it sounds it sounds simple, but it works.
Simplicity doesn't mean it's not powerful. It just means it's like you kick yourself thinking, I should have thought of that kind of thing. But you're right. Most people don't even know what they want. So if you don't know what you want, you don't even know what goals to set.
Well, you know, sometimes I use an example. I say, if a person comes in first in a race, what do they call that person?
The winner.
The winner. Yeah, he's the winner. Well, if you say to yourself, this is my goal, and this is what I'm going to do today before anything else,
Right.
and when you start and complete your task, you feel like
Like,
a
oh,
winner. You have more energy, you have more pride, you feel happy about yourself, you're more respected by other people, and you finally develop the habit. It takes about a month, maybe longer, and you get into the rhythm of starting and completing your most important task. And just do that all the time. Start first thing in the morning. You know, it's interesting. All the studies I'm surrounded by research, but one of them is that successful people get up early and get started immediately, and unsuccessful people don't. That's it. Go home now. It's real simple.
do
Successful
you think
people
that
get up.
started back in the days with farming when you just had to get up early and plow the field and get out there before it got hot?
Well, I think basically it has to do with what do you want in life. Are you have two children now? How old are they?
It's soon to be 8, soon to be 13.
Oh, wow. Boys, girls.
Two boys, half
Oh,
boys, half orangutans, because they're constantly climbing the walls here.
well, one of the things, I have two boys, two girls. One of the most important things you can do is tell them how good they are all the time. Most of our problems come from negative feedback from our parents when we were growing up. And so what I made a resolution that we would never criticize our children and always tell them how good they are. And they have turned out to be unbelievable, just unbelievable. And do that on a regular basis. Always tell them how good they are. Never criticize.
100%.
If they make a mistake, you always say, all right, what happened? And we discuss the mistake or problem they got into at school and so on. And um, and then we say, well, what are you going to do next time? And then we turned it into a learning experience.
Right.
This
What'd you
is
learn from it?
you learn from it. So it's not complicated. You say, well, that's so simple. Yes, it is. That's why nobody
100%.
does.
Some of the simple things are the ones that are most powerful, but because they're simple, they're overlooked and underappreciated.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. But your job is to become wealthy and then set a standard for your children, for your family, for your friends. And so they say, I want to become wealthy too. Good. Well, then what you do is you write down your goals, you make a plan, you work on your plan every day, and you're astonished at how much you accomplish. Be astonished.
100%. I'm curious, how did you get into the whole personal development space, being a professional speaker and motivator, if you want to call it that?
Well, I started off in sales and knocking on doors, and sometimes I'd make 60 and 70 calls on offices and homes each day, and
Wow.
made no sales at all for a long time. And I found that one of the great breakthroughs is that you can learn anything you need to learn to achieve any goal that you can set for yourself. And you said that's pretty profound. Yes, it is. Is there in the US now, according to the recent research, there's about 38 million millionaires. These are people who have achieved a net worth of $1 million or more. In the year 1900, there were 5,000 millionaires. Now, today,
Wow.
125 years later, there's 38 million. Now, that's
Now there's millions of millionaires.
pardon?
They went from five to now millions of millionaires.
Yeah, millions of them. And of course, it's not as worth as much now
Yeah.
because of inflation.
Inflation and stuff. Yeah.
Millions and millions of people have gone from zero to becoming millionaires in one generation. And
Right.
the fact that millions have done it is proof that you can do it as well. And one of the most important things you as a parent do is you become a role model or an example for your children so that they look to you and they look to your guidance and constantly compliment them. Tell
Hmm.
you what they are.
Yeah, oftentimes as parents, we're too busy pointing out what they didn't do right instead of, acknowledging what they did do right. And
So
when they quote make a mistake, then of course, like you said, you just draw the lessons out of it, and the lessons are just the cost of that experience. So it wasn't a mistake. It's you learn from it, you grew from it.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I study the millionaires and billionaires, and Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon, he has this idea that there's no such thing as a mistake. There's just a learning experience. So you
Yep, I
just say,
agree.
so what do we learn? And you take and you go into detail. What did you learn? And what else did we learn? And what else did we learn? And so there's no mistakes in Amazon. There's just learning experiences. And that is a great attitude.
I love that. I love that. I actually spoke to a room of about 300 youngsters, about 10, 11-year olds. It was my
Yes.
son's football team and all the parents. And I said, how many of you guys want to win? And almost everyone raised their hands, including the parents. And I said, are you sure you want to win all the time? I mean, you wanted to win. You just play against kindergarten kids and you'd win every single game. But what would you learn? And the same holds true in reverse, that if you played, 10-year-olds played professional athletes, they'd lose every game and they probably wouldn't learn very much either. But if you're at that edge, of of winning and losing, then you're constantly being pushed and you're constantly learning. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Like I said, with cancer, is that for me, it was my greatest gift to this day, no doubt about that.
What kind of cancer did you have?
Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was caught early. It was caught at stage one. It started off as a lump here in my neck. It was just a really bad cough. But yeah, I'll just tell you the story real quick, and then you appreciate kind of where I came from. Is when I got the diagnosis, my sister being a medical doctor, and at the time I was a university student, but I hated school. I was the kid in grade 11 who failed all his classes except for PE. Now, I don't know if you can fail PE anyway, but when I got to university, I just thought university was a fancy word for more school. So I hated it. So there was no internet, no library. I mean, I wouldn't be caught dead in a library. And my sister said it's a mild form of cancer. So to me, that was just sister talk for this is the end, because I had this premonition that this is the end. But the hardest part, Brian, wasn't just seeing the effect it had on me. Because obviously my friends didn't want to hang out with me anymore. I lost a lot of friends. I didn't have the energy to socialize, whatever. But it was tough watching my mom. It's really hard seeing her struggle with this.
Yeah.
And so I had this idea, that came from a lyric in a song, from Bob Marley's song that says, live for yourself, you live in vain, live for others, and you live again. I was like, what does that mean? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to leave my family a gift. I'm going to get straight A's on my final exams. And I didn't believe I could because I've never seen an A except on my last name. There's 3 A's in my last name. And so I got the A's to my family's surprise and mine. And I learned this powerful lesson that still lives on today. And that is, if you want to get an A in life, if you want to finish first, not better than anybody else, but just the best version of yourself, right? You want to finish first, put yourself second. Because I couldn't get the A's for me, but when I did it for my family, it was almost too easy.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Good for
You
you.
know, and I think it's
You know,
similar to what
when
you're
you
doing with sales, because you mentioned it in sales. It's about serving more clients. You want to make money, serve more people, take care of people.
that's wonderful. You know, you want to make more money, serve more people. So
Yeah,
it's so true.
it's so simple, right? You know, my son, when he was like 9, I think he said, "Hey, Dad, I want to make some money." He said, "You want to make some money?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Just go help somebody." It's like, "What do you mean, Dad?" "Then just go knock on the neighbor's door, say, hey, we're going to buy groceries. Can we get you anything? It's $1 per item for, let's just, whatever, make up a number." And then he's like, "Nah, Dad, I don't want to do that." I said, "That's right, because you don't want to make money. What you want to do is you want to make money doing what you love. That's the secret, is getting paid
Yes.
doing what you love."
Yes.
And so now he's got a dream of being a football player.
That's great.
We're coming up to the top of the hour, and I just want to say thank you so much for this. How about I go back? I'm going to do some thinking. I'm going to think about the least amount of steps that we could put together to then, mutually grow from our relationship.
Okay.
Would you like to speak like in a week or so, or that way we would have come back with some ideas and I would have had some ideas?
Sure. I'll make you responsible for this because
Okay.
I'm drowned. So many good
I'll
things
reach out to your assistant.
Oh, yes, that's wonderful. That's the best thing to do.
All right, my friend. Listen, we're sending you big love here from Abu Dhabi. Very grateful for this opportunity to learn from you and to connect with you, a fellow Canadian. I lived in the States for a while too when I studied chiropractic in Dallas, but it was really lovely connecting. Honestly, I've learned a lot, and it's a true honor to spend time with you.
Well, thank you. You are a remarkable man, and I know that you're going to have a great life.
Thank you so much. I'm already grateful for it, but you saying that means a lot.
You know, one of the liners is you are a millionaire just waiting for a place to happen.
Bingo.
And yeah, bingo.
Like a gem waiting to be found. That's what you are. I found you. You're no longer hidden. Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure.
All right, you take care of yourself. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.